Have you ever stopped to wonder why you never see wild cows? You can find wild horses, wild sheep, wild bison, wild goats, and even wild pigs. But cows? Nowhere. Every cow you've ever seen lives on a farm, behind a fence, or in pasture land under human control. At first, it seems strange. After all, cows are one of the most common animals on Earth. And yet, outside of human care, they don't really exist. To understand why, we need to unravel the story of cattle, one that stretches back thousands of years to a time when wild, fearsome beasts roamed the forests of Europe and Asia. The ancestor of every cow alive today was the aurochs, a massive, wild bovine that once thundered across the grasslands and woodlands of Eurasia and North Africa. Aurochs were nothing like the gentle dairy cows we imagine today. They stood up to 6 feet tall at the shoulder, with long, curved horns and muscular frames. Males could weigh over a ton. Ancient writers described them as fierce, dangerous animals, able to outrun horses and strong enough to kill hunters if cornered. They were painted on cave walls by Paleolithic humans, hunted by kings in Mesopotamia, and admired by Julius Caesar, who wrote about their incredible size and strength. But as much as humans feared them, we also saw their potential. Thousands of years ago, people in the Fertile Crescent and the Indus Valley began the slow, complicated process of domestication. This wasn't just capturing a few wild animals and putting them in pens. It was a cultural revolution. Humans learned how to control breeding, select animals with calmer temperaments, and slowly transform dangerous aurochs into manageable cattle. Over generations, wild instincts softened. Horns grew smaller, temperaments calmed. And for the first time in history, humans had a massive animal that could be used for meat, milk, hides, and even labor. Domestication split into two main lineages: the Bos taurus, which spread through Europe and later the Americas, and the Bos indicus, or zebu cattle, which thrived in hotter climates like South Asia. Both descended from the same aurochs, but adapted differently to their environments. For ancient societies, cattle were wealth, power, and survival all in one. In Mesopotamia, they pulled plows and helped feed cities. In India, they became sacred symbols in religion and culture. Everywhere you look in early civilization, cattle shaped human society. But while domesticated cattle spread, the wild aurochs population declined. Hunting, loss of habitat, and competition with their domesticated cousins pushed them into smaller and smaller pockets of land. By the Middle Ages, aurochs were rare, surviving mostly in Eastern Europe. Kings set aside royal hunting preserves just to protect them. Yet even this wasn't enough. The last known aurochs, a female living in Poland's Jaktaro forest, died in 1627. With her death, the species went extinct, leaving behind only the domesticated cows that humans had carefully bred for thousands of years. That moment in history answers much of our question. There are no wild cows today because their ancestor, the aurochs, is gone. Every cow alive now is a product of human domestication. We shaped them so completely for farming and survival that they can no longer live independently as a wild species. Unlike deer or bison, which humans never fully domesticated, cows became tied to us in every way. Over the centuries, cattle breeding intensified. In medieval Europe, farmers selectively bred cows for strength and endurance, creating oxen that could plow fields and pull carts. Later, during the agricultural revolutions of the 18th and 19th centuries, selective breeding became even more precise. Farmers in Britain developed specialized breeds like the Hereford, prized for beef, and the Holstein, famous for its milk production. Each breed was carefully designed for human needs. But in making them efficient producers, we also stripped away much of their ability to survive in the wild. Think about it. Modern dairy cows produce far more milk than a calf could ever drink, so much that they require regular milking by humans. Left alone, they would suffer from infection or starvation. Beef cattle are bred to gain weight quickly, making them vulnerable to predators without human protection. Even their social instincts have been shaped by farming. Cows cluster around humans and expect food rather than foraging widely like their wild ancestors. They are, in every sense, dependent. There's also the question of predators. Wolves, lions, and tigers once preyed on aurochs. Today, if you released a herd of domestic cows into the wilderness, they would struggle to defend themselves. Some might survive in small feral groups. And in fact, there are pockets of feral cattle around the world, from Hawaii to parts of South America and Australia. But even these herds don't truly become wild cows in the same sense as deer or bison. They remain descendants of domesticated stock, surviving only in specific conditions, often with no large predators around. And yet, the shadow of the aurochs lingers. In recent decades, scientists and conservationists have tried to bring back something resembling wild cattle. In the 20th century, German zoologists launched backbreeding experiments, creating the Heck cattle, a breed meant to resemble aurochs by selecting for size and horn shape. While they looked intimidating, they were not true aurochs. Today, projects like the Toros program in Europe are using advanced genetics and selective breeding to try again, hoping to restore an animal as close as possible to the lost aurochs. The dream is to reintroduce them into wild landscapes, filling the ecological niche once occupied by their ancestors. But for now, the truth remains, there are no wild cows. The animals we know today are the result of thousands of years of partnership with humans, a partnership so deep that they cannot exist without us. Cattle shaped civilization, transformed agriculture, but in return, they gave up their independence. It's a strange thought. We often see cows as ordinary, everyday animals, nothing like lions or wolves. And yet, their history is extraordinary. When you see a herd of cows in a field, you're not looking at wildlife. You're looking at one of humanity's oldest allies, a species that traded its freedom for survival at our side. So the next time you wonder why there are no wild cows, remember this. The cow is no longer a creature of the wild. It's a creature of civilization. And here's a question for you. Do you think science should try to bring back the aurochs, or should they remain a legend of the past? Let me know what you think.